Response video to a few videos. Remy made a video. Ella and the Modern Mystic made two. One responsibility to Ella, and one that was, I don't know, making shoes. I thought it was pretty lame. He was using it as a metaphor, so I guess I'll start there. He's using it as a metaphor for capitalism, and it just doesn't go anywhere. That's not the real world of capitalism anymore, okay? We're not living in little villages and there's a little shoemaker and all this kind of crap. No, the world has gotten really tiny. You can fly across it. I can get stuff from China for 88 cents and they'll send it to my house. Very different world. It just doesn't have, this is just not applicable to talk about the system in those kind of crude terms because that's not how the real world works anymore. Production is spread out, distribution is spread out. It's just not the reality. It's about how we invest capital now. It's not how, you know, what you do in your garage and how much you pay the kid you get to help you. I mean, that's just kind of bogus. But to answer your question, I guess my argument would be simple. You could hire all you want. You can hire anybody you want as long as you pay them a good minimum wage. All right? And if you're asking for some skilled guy to come to your house, then you're probably going to have to pay him more. But yeah, there's a minimum. You have to pay the minimum. If you don't want to pay the minimum, then you can't employ anybody. It's that simple. Um, and I would also have a maximum, but let's just talk about the minimum. There has to be a minimum. You're gonna oblige somebody to sacrifice a hunk of their life. I think there ought to be a standard that says how much that is, how much that cost to oblige somebody to sacrifice their life to make your shoes. Um, all right. So anyway, all right, back to now. He's also talking like there's this difference between this political system and this economic system, and somehow the systems are equal or something. I think that's a pile of crap. Um, people talk about the police state. Who has the most people in fucking jail? Oh, yes, the capitalists have the most people in jail. No surprise there. Um, I mean, this idea that somehow the politics follows the economics is nonsense. You don't have to have draconian politics. You don't have to outlaw rock and roll, to have communism. So get real. I mean, what the Communist Party did in Russia was silly. The suppression of basic liberties that they imposed was just silly. I mean, you don't even know where it comes from. You're going to outlaw porn, and you're going to outlaw all this, doing all this interfering in people's personal lives that was completely unnecessary. The whole KGB bullshit, all of that nonsense. You didn't need any of that crap to have a collective economic system. And there's lots of socialist countries in the world that you could point to where, yeah, they don't need to have any draconian government policy. They don't need to monitor people's internets or any of this other kind of crap to have a whole lot of collectivism going on, or whatever you want to call it. So that's just a canard. Big fat lie is what that is. Yeah, it's a big fat slanderous lie. And it's just more of this crap that they're going to keep associating any kind of social interest economics that isn't all obsessed about private interest economics. You're just going to keep trying to associate it with gulags. You just want to keep going back to, Lenin or Stalin or whatever and play that fucking game. Well, I think that's just a political weasel's game. And I think it is a lie. It's like I said, it's not a it's not an error. It's not a mistake. It's a deliberate, um, um, willful effort to take a cheap shot. That's all it is. It's a cheap maneuver. Like you can't separate the two. You can't separate the politics from the economics. I mean, it's just such crap. Okay, and then Nick basically said, "No, don't talk about. I don't want. Don't even bother me with this idea of changing the political system. Way too complicated. I don't know anything about it. I don't know blah 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 blah." And it's just like, where does that go? The politics isn't any more complicated than the economics, and it is just about engineering. It's having little tiny things that say you can't drive over this cliff. You can't go this far. You can kick somebody in the nuts, but you can't stab them in the heart. I mean, it's not that complicated. And the basic idea of democracy is to give everybody a vote, one man, one vote kind of thing, and all that kind of crap. And we don't have that. And so that's a big missing from the system. And there's little mechanisms that'll fix that. Instant runoff voting and getting rid of the huge geographic bias in representation. And you do that, yeah, you're going to have a more representative system, and the evil money grubbing by the political system people are going to be out of luck. They're not going to be able to buy your politicians anymore, because you're not going to be stuck with a choice between a liar and a liar. You're actually going to be able to vote for somebody you like and you trust, and you're actually going to have a representative every single election. You're actually going to win. You're going to win the right to have a representative. All right, you're not going to have one guy steal the other 50% of the people's vote. So anyway, the politics is easily fixed, and then like I said, the economics is just made a certain thing. So let's just say, that free markets are zero in terms of regulation. Completely free, where the rich would just grind up the poor and eat them for dinner, just rawest, freest. And the rich would just get richer in like 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, 6 people would own the entire economy. Because obviously, if there's two equal parties, two equally smart guys, and one guy has an extra $1 million in the bank, he's likely to win any competition those two guys have, right? If they have a road race, he's going to be able to buy more sneakers. If they have no matter what they're going to do, the guy who has the extra $1 billion in the bank is going to frickin' win 90% of the time. Unless he does something incredibly stupid, because he's always got a safety net. He's always got something to help him, push him through and past, and he can get through the hard times. And the other guy's going to be vulnerable. He catches a cold and is out of work for 2 weeks, and his business gets ruined. So I mean, it's just stupid. We know what's going to happen if you if you have free markets. It's going to be the rich will get richer extremely fast, and they'll own everything. And once they own everything, they just decide to rent it to everybody else, and then they're in the money forever and ever and ever and ever, and they can't be harmed or hurt, or they can't fail, because they own everything. Oh God, you people. Anyway, so let's say that's zero. Then just take a circle and you go all the way around, and here's complete controlled system. Harshest gulagish communism you could come up with. And so you just say those two are next to each other. It's failure. And that what you're really trying to do is do something with this arc up here from like 30 miles an hour to 90 miles an hour. I mean 70. You want to do something with this arc here. This is the place where the game can be played, is somewhere in this range. And there's probably some ideal where you have just the right mix of freedom and regulation to make the whole thing really efficient. And it's like people keep using the word system, and they keep not using the word that is really important to a system, which is engineering. Engineering makes a system work. Okay, an unengineered system, like nature, creates carnage and huge waste. It's just terrible. So yeah, you engineer it, and then if you engineer it, it comes out like the Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal was engineered. People didn't just say, go throw some bricks over in a pile over there, and we'll just hope it comes out the right way. No, they engineered it. They planned it. It was on purpose. And so you kind of have to do this stuff on purpose. And you can't let a bunch of private interests that are different interests, that have nothing to do with the interest of making the Taj Mahal, decide to influence how it's made. That's just stupid. It sort of has to be the collective interest, and it has to be deliberate and willful and purposeful. Alright, so there's lots to get on to about here. Alright, but again, this is personal interest versus private interest. Alright, so I'm going to say, look, there's lots of little proposals people could make to say this is a way to have a check or a balance in the system. I personally just want the choice to be able to opt out. It's like on the internet. I want to have the choice to navigate an internet like a .org or a .net that originally existed, where I don't have to be paying no scummy capitalists. I don't have to be paying. I don't have to listen. I don't get no spam. I can just I can filter out all the crap I don't fucking goddamn want. The people I don't want to subsidize. I don't even want to know they fucking exist because I hate their fucking guts. I just want a choice. Okay, and I want a choice. So if I'm buying a pair of shoes, Nick, and I know the scumbag who's selling the shoes is some guy who likes rich people and he likes excess and he likes gold-plated toilets. I don't want to buy his fucking shoes, okay? I want him to go to fucking hell. So I want to buy some guy's shoes who believes in what I believe in, who believes in human beings and their dignity and paying a fair wage and doing all that kind of crap. So I want to be able to buy from people I believe in. So I want a fucking choice. And like I said, on the internet, I want the same thing. And we can have that. We can have parallel systems. They can just run right along each other. They don't have to get in each other's way in any kind of serious way. You just give people a choice. And I'm saying if you give people a choice in the capitalist system to opt out of capitalism, they'll choose to do that. Okay, they'll choose not to pay for Learjet jets and to pay the Walton family zillions of dollars in interest every year on the business. Yeah, they'll choose to do that because most people respect work. They don't respect sit on your ass and talk about the poor pulling up their bootstrap assholery. Okay? So, I mean, for a tiny price, look, the capitalists have a private interest. They're not going to invest in a social interest. So there's no investment capital to create business. There just isn't. And I've used the example of the public library over and over and over again. There are public libraries that are self-financing. And all they were given was the protection of the government. So if it's a hard time, they have some place to go to. Or if, to get initiated, they had some place to go to. But beyond that seed money, they're paying their bills. And I'm saying the government could do that because private capitalists aren't going to do it. They're not going to sit there and invest in competitive industry against capitalism because it's completely abhorrent to their elitism, to the very idea that you would run a business without an owner to collect huge profits. How dare you? But that's what the government should be doing. I mean, look, when we landed on the moon, Nick, I don't know what the percentage was, but most of the work was done at NASA. They didn't hire some other company to do the work. No, government employees, government paid scientists did the frickin' work. Okay, they didn't just sit there and get the money and say, well, let's give the money to Halliburton. And that's what we're doing now. And instead we should be creating our own industry. If there's a university math project at Stanford University called Google, maybe that should be something that's publicly owned, by the public. So that's even this rhetoric is just so deceptive and evil because they call it a public company when it's owned in the stock market by a few, 10% of the world's wealthiest people. They call that public ownership. What a goddamn fucking joke. But there should be a publicly owned business, that we the people own, that we the people seed and feed initially, and let it go out and make its living. And because it can be so hard lean that it's gonna win, in my opinion. There's no doubt about it. If we try the experiment, I can make the experiment work, I'm sure. But I'm sure there are lots of other people that can make it work. Because you just engineer it to work. So you just set up a corporation with a simple rule. The CEO gets paid $200,000 a year, and the lowest paid employee gets paid $35,000 a year. Okay, and then you say, go ahead, build the company under those parameters. All right, you make a warehouse, you hire the people. It's the same game. You're paying somebody $200,000 to run a business. So if you want to make shoes, a guy will have a choice. He'll say, "Oh, I can go make shoes at this corporation and get $35,000 or $50,000 a year. Why the hell would I work for Nick for 50 cents a day?" Yeah, I would love that choice. To get paid a good wage to do my damn job, and to do it for my company. Okay, the company I'm going to be working for, I'm going to believe in, because it's not going to be paying some fucking owner. All it's going to do is be paying the people working there. And all the workers are going to have an incentive to watch the guy next to them and say, you know what, you're really not doing shit here. You're eating fucking sandwiches all day. Your fingers are sticky. You're getting all the products dirty as hell. Somebody has to clean up your fucking mess. Yeah, they'll get on each other's ass, okay, because it'll be in their own interest to make their business a success. So let's, if I just put the proposal at you and Remy, that here the government would spend all of, what, $5 billion a year, okay, out of the $5 trillion U.S. budget. We'll spend $5 billion a year seeding new business. So that just means that you give them 5 billion to create a business, and they have to pay it back within 10 years. All right, no big deal, right? That's not harshly going to just slow the whole fucking government down to a crawl. All right, and let those businesses go out into the world under the parameters I set, where the CEO gets paid 200, the highest paid employee gets 200,000, and nobody gets any higher than that. And then you have one elected official that we get to vote on every year, who will basically be responsible for who's running these businesses. All right, and he'll be responsible. So if one of these guys is just screwing up, he's going to be responsible for replacing him. And if he doesn't replace him, then we can replace him until the next guy replace that fucker because he's fucking that business up. And yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying, but these are experiments that are going to have to take place for there to be any change. And as long as people are so draconian in their up the capitalist vagina bullshit, then yeah, they're not going to allow the experiments to take place. They're going to say, well, if that private business has started, we're not going to let it get into this industry or this industry or that industry or that industry. We're going to put all these barriers against it, and then we're going to put sanctions on it. You know, I mean, fuck that crap. But yeah, this can be done. And we don't need the owners. They really provide no useful service. And again, we could go through all the inefficiencies that you keep thinking that it's creating all this great industry. It's not. It's not creating progress. It's not creating iPods and iPads. And Bill Gates was not great for the computer industry. He was a great liability to what could have been done with computers. It was exactly the opposite. It was all the other independent people writing software who were fucking brilliant. Bill Gates was a big drag on the system, and the whole idea that even when he started getting all that money, and then he started breaking and destroying and buying up any bit of anything looked like competition, I mean, that's totally destructive. So it doesn't get us to the future faster. You know, I mean, we can't run the experiment, but I would argue that if we didn't have all this waste, if we didn't have these companies pointlessly competing with each other over who can pay Michael Jordan more money to sell their product, if they didn't have all this nonsense and waste that's built into this pointless competition. Competition doesn't make both companies stronger. Competition just means the two companies are raping the workers, raping the quality of the product, destroying everything to sit there in competition because they don't have any. Their goal isn't to be the best producer. Their goal is to be the best seller. You know, there's a big fucking difference. So anyway, yeah, probably enough. But yeah, I don't see any real point in getting to a conversation about you know, capitalism from some little hokey outhouse kind of technology discussion of capitalism. Like, I'm going to start a little business in my living room here, and so let's model capitalism. Because that's not how capitalism works. Where's the stock market in that example? Where's incorporation in that example? Where's bankruptcy in that example? Where's taxation in that example? It just doesn't have any of the necessary components in it for it to be an example of how capitalism works. So talk about what you do when you try to start a business in the real world, and you need a minimum of $500,000 to start the business. And what if you establish your business, okay, you actually save $500,000, you would make your business, you're running your business, and for a year you're hugely successful. And then the wife of the guy married to Google guy decides she wants to get into the same business across the street from you. How would you feel then, Nick, okay? Because you just lost everything. Because that wife is going to be able to lose money for the next 10 years, 20, 50 years, 100 years. You're done. You're fucking cooked. You're going to lose, period. You're out of business. Talk about some kind of real world example instead of this fake little, I want to make shoes in my garage. So, till next time.